For those of you who love being obscure and average, this is not your Sunday. Just leave your offering and keep going. But there are people in this room who genuinely believe that God has created you for amazing, extraordinary, and sometimes unexplainable things. I didn't come to talk about Christmas. I came to talk about how God can do stuff with folk that nobody ever thought it could be done with. And while we're sitting around letting other people give us their limits based upon their narrow understanding of existence, we are actually able to live beyond anybody's expectation and to experience a life that will blow our mind. God told me to tell you that while the world has tried to shape you with predictability and said that you won't make it because of the neighborhood you come from, or you won't survive because of who you're connected to, or because of what you've gone through, you'll never get up. They don't understand that because of who your God is, not only will you make it, but you will thrive. Not only will you go through, but you will come out. And it doesn't matter what neighborhood you were in. It doesn't matter what hell you've been through. God is a God that is so incredible till he can elevate you above what people think about you and then give you something that will blow your mind. I guess I'm preaching to myself, because God doesn't have to fix you to use you. God can use you the way you are and then force people to acknowledge that it wasn't about you, it had to be about him. I need you to take your neighbor's hand, shake it, and tell him, I'm living beyond the expectation. I know what you think about me, but you ain't seen nothing yet. I know you've already tried to figure me out, but I'm about to blow your mind, because even though you don't see me coming, you can't deny me once I get there. And somebody in this room today is about to go into a year where God's going to give you the ability to rise above every category of definition and every narrow, cynical view of your existence. I find this story amazing, for it's not simply to me about a virgin giving birth. It's about a woman nobody saw as capable of that. I think one of the things that blows my mind about this text is some of you have obvious flaws that should immediately disqualify you. And God uses your flaws despite what others see, and then elevates you above how folk have already planned out your path. I'm wondering if I'm really making sense with this sermon, because the thing that I love is that Mary's life is never the same again. Everybody had already determined who she would be. She would marry Joseph, have some children, serve him as he works as a carpenter, raise her children, and then die. That was her life. And Jesus shows up through the voice of God, and she goes from predictable to places nobody ever saw. And thousands of years later, we call her name as a sainted woman and as the expression of motherhood. What kind of God turns your life around and then makes folk have to pay attention to you? Man, I feel like preaching. Folk didn't come today, but I came, and I'm going to have fun, because I really came to tell you, you are not supposed to be predictable. When God gets in your life, you're supposed to live a life that is constantly making folks scratch their head, because they should never be able to figure you out when they wasn't at the planning meeting for your life. You'll catch it later. That's why some of you need to stop being frustrated when doors are closed. A closed door is only an open opportunity for God to take you someplace you've never been before. I need to encourage somebody and tell you, you ain't had your best season yet. I know you worked on that job for 30 years, but you ain't had your best season, because God ain't finished doing something with you. There's a new idea, there's a new opportunity, there's a new door, there's a new place, and And if you will only trust and never doubt. I love this, Deacon Dan Smith, because God invades your predictable world and elevates you beyond the realm of the expected. And here's what people end up doing. Harriet, they end up saying, I can't believe they became that. I want to challenge you today to understand that if you ever grasp this, you want to know what ultimately happens. If you ever grasp this, here's what happens. You will find yourself in Mary's moment, Oliver and Tracy. Really interesting question. How can this be? God will give you a revelation of your potentiality that will force a question out of you that your cynics would ask, but only after the execution and manifestation of purpose. You will ask it before, not because you doubt, but because you are amazingly intrigued that God's going to do this with you when you don't even qualify for that yet. Okay, you missed it. Okay, but I'm going to see if I can help you. She's about to get pregnant and give birth to a son when she don't qualify based upon how people think she ought to be. She ain't married yet. Okay, all right. I'm about to bless 8 of y'all and tell you that God's about to put you ahead of schedule based upon how other folks see your process. Okay, you missed that. That's fine. God is about to put you beyond, and that's why when you get ready to walk in this place of beyond the expectation, God is going to blow your mind, because when people go, how did they get there? They're going to have to acknowledge that they had nothing to do with it, and they can't stop it just because they don't like it. The question then, how can this be, is a monumental question, because it begs the answer that it can be, because with God, nothing is impossible. This simply means that nothing lives above and beyond the realm of God's ability or capacity to make it come to pass. And that's the thing that I came to declare today, that it can happen. You can live above expectation. You can walk in a place where your life is not predictable. And I'm not just talking about trials and tribulations and suffering and pain and rejection. No, I'm talking about the production of something that blows your mind and that elevates you to new and exciting places, Kim, and allows you to wake up every day excited about where God is taking you. I wish I was preaching to the right church today, because I wish some of you would get your swag back and recognize that God is about to take you places that's going to blow. See, man, I'm having to say it too much. God is about to take you places that's going to blow your mind, and you won't even be able to carve out your journey, for your journey is in the hand of God, and God has already decided the outcome, and he's already decided who's gonna walk with you, and he's already decided who's gonna be with you, and he's already decided who's gonna walk away, and he's already decided how he's gonna make it. And if you just trust and never doubt, hallelujah, he will surely. I'm awakening something in some of you, because in 2013 you will live beyond the expectation, but you got to embrace the fact that you are not like everybody else. You are not like everybody else. You got to wake up, St. Paul, and figure out we are not like every other church. We have to embrace our uniqueness and celebrate the call upon our lives. You got to recognize that you ain't raising a child like everybody else's child. If everybody else jump off a bridge, you gonna jump off too. You ain't like everybody else. You are uniquely and wonderfully made. You gotta make up your mind, God, whatever I'm created to be, I say yes. So you know what's got to happen here? Mary has to become a slave by choice and allow God so much authority in her life until, watch this, Randy and Keisha, she lives with absolute confidence in God. So here's what happens. This absolute confidence with Jonah leads her to a definite yes, Steve, and let it be unto me. Watch this. What does she say yes to? First thing she says yes to is the exactness of the promise. Okay, watch this. When you get a chance, go back and read Luke chapter 1, beginning at verse 29. And I want you to pay attention to how detailed God is. And here's the thing I want you to get. Y'all ready? Q, here's the revelation. You got to believe every word exactly the way he said it. Okay, Tommy, you listen. You got to believe every word exactly the way he said it. Okay, I'm going to say it again. You got to believe every word exactly the way he said it. Okay. You got to believe every word exactly how he said it. You got to believe every comma, every semicolon, every question mark, every exclamation point. You got to believe every vowel and consonant. You got to believe every capital letter, every small cap letter. You got to believe every verb, every noun, every adverb, every adjective. You got to believe all of it exactly. Because if you doubt, if you put a question mark where there's a period, you're going to mess up the promise. If you put a period where there's a comma, you're going to cut off some stuff. Preach, pastor. You got to believe all of it. You got to believe it to the point that when don't nobody else believe it, like Mary, you will ponder it in your heart and keep speaking it to your spirit. And then you watch this, because when you get to the cross and you see what appears to be your dream being crucified, you need to be able to tell yourself, but he told me that he would be king, and he can't be king in a grave. So you're going to have to show me how he's going to do this. But you know what, God? I'm going to believe you for everything you told me. I need you to take your neighbor's hand, shake it, and tell him, I believe every word. I believe everything God has said to me, and I'm going to believe it because my God has never lied to me. God is not in the business of elevating my desire and then shattering my dreams against the rocks of uncertainty. No, God is going to do it, and that's why you can praise him in the middle of your process, because you know God is going to do everything. Come on, y'all. You got to get your faith back. You got to stop walking around believing that your life ain't going to have an expected end of greatness. Whatever God has promised you, it is going to happen.